6:41 here on Breakfast Television. Mel's joining us now to talk about. You had a chance to talk with a family who are in China in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak,
yes.
And they are going to stay put.
Yeah, it's not something that you've been hearing about, the hundreds who are looking
Everybody
to
wants
flee,
to come home, absolutely.
We're waiting on this plane that's going to be quarantined. He said, no, my family and I, we are staying. He lives in Wuhan. He teaches there. Have a listen to him. I asked him about daily life, what it's been like. He also lived in China during SARS.
Okay.
We are not trapped in our apartment, but we're essentially restricted to the apartment. And now the lockdown is getting a little more stringent.
Tensions now higher in Wuhan, a place Wayne Duplessis, his wife, and 2 sons call home. Originally from just outside Sudbury, Ontario, Wayne teaches in Wuhan, and due to the coronavirus outbreak, is now offering online classes as a way to stay connected with students. You're obviously staying put, and what is the reasoning behind that?
The safety for ourselves and for others. You're in a pressurized environment. You know, once you're on the airplane, you've got recycled air. If someone is contagious, it's going to spread. You know, and then you get into the hospital or the clinic, wherever they put you in quarantine. And the people who bear the brunt of this are not just going to be the passengers, but it's going to be the medical workers. And Toronto, unfortunately, saw that with SARS.
That 2003 outbreak, all too familiar to Wayne, who lived in China at the time. He says things, though, are being handled differently this time around. Streets empty, supplies somewhat limited. He describes his last visit to the local market.
We stood there and we didn't know if it was going to open again. And we stood there for 20 minutes and the crowd started to form and people started to get a little tense. And of course you would. This is the one market that's still opened. And thankfully it opened and the staff had been cleaning. They had been moving out things and bringing in new food and everything was stocked except for the meat. So we bought everything we could in that store. And the smell of bleach was quite strong, and thankfully for that. And now we expect to be in the apartment without going out for about 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
So calm about it, and so pragmatic on his approach to it.
He is, and for him, like he was saying, he's thinking about the safety of himself and his family and others,
everybody else,
having lived through SARS as well. One thing I said, do you have enough supplies? Are you confident you have enough? He says, well, I have water. I have rice, which should be okay.
Yeah.
He thinks 20 to 25 days he has. Another complication with leaving is citizenship. His wife and older son are Indonesian. His younger son is Indonesian-Canadian. He's Canadian. And so he says if one of us can't go, none of us will go.
So it's a very complicated
and he hasn't seen one of his older sons since the original lockdown, because of transportation being shut down. So
and they're somewhere else, so they haven't been able to see them.
So it's interesting to hear the perspective, but like you said, very pragmatic.
Especially being in Wuhan. I mean, you're right at the epicenter of it, and watching it all unfold. The empty streets are quite fascinating to see that. The idea that they can shut that then, but if that's the way that if that's what they need to do to get it under control, I guess we can't really say otherwise.
And he understands that. He says we're holding on and just hope this resolves itself.
All right. Thanks very much, Mel, for joining us.